try to touch on the draft again and, well, most importantly, how it translated into game. A couple of things. The Z ban from SK Gaming, just one of the factors that were inexplicable almost about their draft phase.
The Tigers do not play Zed. That's it. I don't know what that was going on there.
We're going to have to ask SK personally what the Zed ban was about, but I think one of the most interesting things is how specifically tailored this draft was towards SK, particularly with the double AD carry ban, and then eventually the point that you were mentioning before with the early itemization, which you mentioned something about it being really effective. What was that?
Well then, I'll take over the host role. In the early game, Maokai actually showed up with a double Doran's ring and the blue buff to face off the Caitlyn lane swap.
If we talk about SK style going into that game, so they pigeonhole them in the draft onto Caitlyn, which has been the third champion that we've seen for given play so far in the EULCS this season. So in order to counteract the fast push and get Caitlyn into a power trough, they initiate the lane swap themselves. They go ahead with the jungle follow. Freddy stays in lane in this game, takes a bit of harassment, but then what happens, they give Maokai the blue buff. Smeb recalls with that blue buff, goes into the bottom lane with another Doran's ring, so he has maximum sustain, great wave clear, totally nullifies Caitlyn's early game push. And then not only that, but when the blue buff wears off, as soon as Corki hits 6 and gets those rockets, it's right. The Corki goes right into the Caitlyn lane after they've avoided that dangerous 1 through 5 for Corki, where he will be harassed out of lane by Caitlyn, especially with a player as good as Forgiven. And at that point, all of the early pressure was nullified. SK did get some early turrets down, but it was really, really delayed. And it was just a really airtight game from GE. And that's been one of the things that's so extraordinary about this team in Korea is their preparation and their planning and their tailoring to each opponent is really interesting.
I think another part of it too is something we talked about before the game as well, the Diana pick. You know, we mentioned that it wouldn't be good, that Korean teams can handle the Diana, that they can handle the cannon. And what do we see? We see Fox pick Diana, really cannot get in there. And yeah, he may have gotten a little bit of ahead of Kuro in lane, but when it came to the team fighting, when it came to the conflicts that really mattered, that Diana just wasn't able to do much.
Yeah, what I don't understand is if you're confident enough to take Diana and practically dive the Victor in lane, why don't you play an Ahri that you know you can play very well and just try and do a little bit more? Another one of great picks, Gorilla on Janna. Fantastic. We actually have a replay to show us just exactly what he can do on that champion. It wasn't just this moment, and especially contrasting it to what Enrated has shown us. This game was really well. Let's get that replay up on the screen.
Now, this replay happened to be a blue steal from SK going into the GE Tigers' jungle, and now they have Freddy who's going to jump over the wall while they have the Diana kind of come in from the mid lane. They don't have any wards on the Tigers right now. All they see is that Lee has been hit with a Nidalee trap, or a trap right now, and they're just going to commit to it. But the star of the fight is going to be Gorilla, who's going to provide the support with his tornadoes, with an amazing monsoon from over the wall. And even though they do end up trading, I believe it's 3 for 3, the fight goes in the favor of GE with the pressure.
Yeah, there we see it spreading out. As you said,
the Maokai W is the thing that really allowed him to really make SK commit for him and not die instantly and eventually get saved by the monsoon. And when Diana gets pushed over by the Janet, she's all of a sudden in the middle and has to commit to using abilities on the Maokai that's just refusing to die. Victor and Janna being the main threats of this, just because Janna can keep the team alive and Victor with the damage, are going to be over the wall and have a positional advantage on SK. And I think it's a big mistake right here, not being able to use any wards or have anything of vision in the brush, or perhaps even place the Tibbers to have some sort of brush control. And eventually, I mean, this overcommitting to try to kill Freddy is a little bit of a mistake by them. Yeah. But what brings me to the next point after this fight is how Gorilla's itemization was really beautiful, because we've seen him before in the LCK buying that early QSS on the Janna, because against single engaged compositions, the Annie has no one to stun. If you stun the team, Janna disengages. If you stun the Janna is going to use the Q assassin herself, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a draft that you just cannot engage into these kiting compositions. And it's really spectacular to see this play like that.
I do want to say though that I feel like Freddy's Gnar was probably one of the best Gnars we've seen since the nerf. He actually was managing his rage really, really well. The Mega Gnar came in at the right time. So even though they lost, I feel like that's kind of a positive we can take for SK. That Gnar looked pretty good.
Yeah, actually SK did put up a better fight than we've seen before, and we'll have a good time defending their chances tomorrow. For now, though, we're going to go ahead and go to Chober because he's got Prey with him.